This is the last moment now of my trip here to this beautiful country, Albania, in October 2022. It's part of my free country tour, Macedonia, Montenegro, Albania, now in the beginning of October, to promote EU membership of all free countries in 2024. I know that sounds a bit rush for some in Brussels who are sleeping, but the reality is we have to be a bit faster because the Russian war is requiring faster unity. The free NATO members can be easily joining. I know here, for example, in the north, it is a relatively poor region, one of the poorest in Europe, and that is tragedy, and it will only be better inside the European Union. To think that Albania can itself reform outside in somehow like dressing up the bride, being very beautiful, and it will be then perfect, and we will just come back after some time and see it's happy, and then we take it in 20 years, like Macron is proposing, is utterly ridiculous. Yeah. Will not happen. It is too complicated. It can only be fixed inside. That is simply the historic truth and the legacy of the complicated history of and complicated reality of this region. So getting it into the European Union faster is the better way. And yes, 2024 is just in 1.5 years the European Parliament elections, and yes, it can be done. And yes, please get going, make the regulation, and then of course we will have to fix it inside, and it is much easier because then the EU laws apply. And of course it will take some time, it will need a lot of investment, it will need a lot of expertise, and we have done it in the case of Romania and Bulgaria as a result of the war in Kosovo, and we have to do it again in the case of Montenegro, Macedonia, and of course Albania as a result of the war in Ukraine. Each country which is in the European Union is a win for us and a loss for Putin. Here, anyhow, in Albania, they are not very strong, the Russians, but even here they do some funding, some whatever kind of illicit activity, and it has to be stopped. And the better the countries are fully integrated, also with the euro, that's basically my call as well for Albania to adopt the euro, because regulatory alignment has already massively improved. Now, of course, it is here in, it's called actually Greater Montenegro here, Malezije Mart, and this is a contended area between the two nations. And here I call to do it the same like Montenegro. Do it the same like Montenegro. Adopt the euro unilateral, and the EU should allow that. And it's utterly ridiculous that this cannot be done. I call again for Mr. Lindner to resign. He is the shame of Europe. He is blocking the big EU debt deal. He is blocking the Ukrainian funding. He is blocking the weapons for Ukraine. He is the big shame of Europe, and he is the utter disappointment of everybody who, like me, calls himself a liberal. He is whatever he is. He's a kind of instrument of Putin, or whatever he exactly is. I really don't care, but I'm very disappointed. Here I want to show you this huge and beautiful mountain range. Here actually this is one of the central areas where the Catholic Christians of Albania live, and they are obviously very poor, and they need support in the EU. It's so logical. This is where the railway goes, because there is no highway to the north. Still today there is no highway. This road was finished about 2012. I was driving here first time, and it is of course very good road now, you know, normal conditions. Normally that should have been built in 2000. Then it was done a decade too late, but now it's there. But there is no Adriatic highway still today. From Medjugorje until Milot, and that's 330 kilometers of north-south highway missing. That's the reality of Albania and of Montenegro and of Bosnia, because of failed EU policy, delays and lack of generosity, Lindner style kind of small changing the countries after all the terrors of the wars and disasters. And then we have, of course, massive depopulation of these areas. I mean, honestly, would you like to live here and raise your children here in such village under such conditions, when you know how life in Austria is, and in Germany and in Switzerland? And they very well know, because they have internet here and everybody is already there. So Albania and all the region is losing massively population, and I am absolutely disgusted by EU's failure to integrate these countries. And our failure is translating then in encouragement of the enemies of the West, who think that we are somehow weak and we are incapable and failed. And then, of course, they happily promote their own agenda of violence and territorial border changes and whatever dictatorial regimes. And that's the consequence of the perception of the Western weakness. Here you see the old roads and the railway, and now we are coming already to the border with Montenegro. You see here, of course, the territory which was contended here. You see one monument of probably the independence war, because in 1912 this was very much contested territory, and the borders were drawn as they were drawn at that time. And of course this is the customs area, and this is how it is. So we have now to integrate every country here in the EU customs union immediately, and 2024 in the European Union. And don't tell me it's impossible, because then I tell you that you are an incompetent racist, and you know that's goat here. Very good. So it's beautiful here, and that's already behind the mountains is already here the lake of Shkodër, and this is in the back already the hills beyond is Montenegro, and here you see the beautiful Shkodër lake. And there's only one more north-south connections. Now they have opened a regional connection as well here, for example a energy connection. And all the infrastructure is still very limited, and that's very sad. We should really get this done. And this is one of the whatever border stations of the past communist systems. And now I'm at the border station. I will give you more information from Montenegro, and I call on Montenegro, Albania, North Macedonia to be in the European Union 2024. Thanks a lot, and more to come from Pax Europiana. Bye.